This batch is misogynistic or anti-woman clips. Clips that would not go with a true godly view of women. Listen to this. There's a whole series of these I got. Ready?
I don't want to turn 30 and find some 20-year-old, 29-year-old woman that I have something in common with, and it's like, hey, properly aged, like wine. Women don't age like wine, they age like milk. They don't age like wine. That's not how their hormones work. That's not how they work.
So he's talking about when he does get married. He's going to talk about what that looks like when he does get married. And it's going to get into some really strange, murky waters, some odd territory really fast right now. Okay? So keep in mind, he's about 25 years old, I think, right now. So listen to what he's going to say here.
Bill.
No, bitch. I want to drink it straight from the tap. I want it raw. I don't want to wait a moment. Right when the milk is good, I want to start drinking the milk. Same thing goes with women. I don't want to...
Okay. Are you starting to get a sense of where this is going to go? I think you probably caught what he's going after, but it's going to get very specific and explicit here in a second. Also, notice the crude language he uses so frequently. Here we go.
Yeah, I gotta find my 16-year-old wife. Probably when I turn 30 or something. Because here's the thing.
What's that? He just said, Nick Fuentes just said, I got to find my 16-year-old wife probably when I turn 30 or something. This is hashtag Nick Fuentes life goals. Why would anyone who is an intellectual person, an adult, a Christian who cares about those kinds of morals and values, why would they give this guy a pass? Why would you listen to him? Why is he popular, even amongst people in different demographics, older people, even people with different ethnicities? This guy has a fan base. It's unbelievable. This guy, watch.
I don't want to be like, let's say I get married to the 18-year-old now. 6-year age difference. When I turn 40, she's going to be 34. Ew. What if I'm 30 and she's 16? 14-year age difference. When I'm 50, she'll be 36. When I'm 40, she'll be 26. Then now we're talking here. Now we're cooking with gas.
Whew, boy. Okay. Let's check out a couple of these comments here. First of all, we have the one and only Miss Titus 2, a.k.a. Miss Titus Jones in the house. She says, I'm Nick. Come say that to my face, LOL. And she says, what in the R. Kelly is he talking about? Yeah. Faith Refined by Fire says, well, Kanye West was hanging out with him when he was making Hebrew Israelite claims. Funny enough, you said that. We're gonna play some of those clips, by the way. We're going to play some of those. John M. says his views on women are disgusting, not Christ-like at all. Amen. Orthodox Moore says, did he just start spitting the GMS doctrine? Faith Refined by Fire says he's a PDF file. Okay. Joshua says the wildest interview that I seen by Nick Fuentes was him and Kanye being interviewed by Alex Jones. Yeah, I'm going to play some of that too, by the way. Alton Johnson just says, what an idiot. COTD actually says, one would have to listen to the context. Hey, what context is it cool to say that when I'm 30, I need a 16-year-old girl and I want to drink it straight from the tap, B? What's the context, dude? Come on, man. You are just super wrong. Dr. Bob says, you just don't get based Groiper Catholic integralism vocab. You're just a prot after all. He's using all the slang. So, Dr. Bob, actually, stick around. Could you do me a favor? And could you put the definition for Groiper in the live chat? I was going to define it at a certain point, but I'd like to hear your definition, and I'm going to put that on there. Okay. So, you're funny, man. He's using all their little slang. You know. Miss Titus Jones says the context is he needs to be born again. Well, facts. Okay, here we go. Check it out. Nick Fuentes.
Now you can see an alternative vision for how things could be. I want a 16-year-old.
I want a 16-year-old, he's saying. Check this out.
16-year-old is untouched, pristine, untouched, uncorrupted, innocent. That's what we all want. And all 16-year-olds want an older guy who's like capable and strong and everything to sweep them off their feet. That's what everybody wants. Now you can see an alternative vision for how things could be. I want a 16-year-old
Okay.
is untouched, pristine, untouched, uncorrupted, innocent. That's what we all want.
That's what we all want. Joshua Milton says Groypers is the name Fuentes fan base. So that's true. That's what he's dubbed them. That's a thing in social media. It's called Name Your Tribe. So, for example, I'll refer to y'all as a squad. The kind of inner core, I'll say you got the squad. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of the name. And Groypers is what he's named his. But I think there's more specificity to it. Dr. Bob chimes in with that. An outgrowth of the manosphere and alt-right circa 2015 in the wake of the Trump campaign. They were known for their use of the Pepe the Frog meme. Yep, so I've seen the Groypers and the Pepe the Frog meme, and I've seen the Pepe the Frog thing all over Gab and 8chan, but I still don't actually understand what's the significance of Pepe the Frog. Can someone help us understand? Here we go.
Well, I'm not just some guy that just has some wagey job. I'm not. I'm more creative. And there's anything wrong with having a wagey job, but I'm a creative person. I'm a leader. I have an important role in this. I have lots of responsibilities. I don't have the same priorities. I don't have the same life as somebody that isn't doing this. I couldn't be doing this if I was like that. So anyway, so I appreciate it. It's true, but I don't need to rationalize it or anything. It's like, look, it's, oh, you haven't had sex. It's like, well, I haven't chosen to do that yet. I'm choosing instead to be an historical figure. I'm choosing instead to lead an historical right-wing movement. So it's a cope. But anyway, I'm an incel. I am a proud incel. And when I'm good and ready, I'll get married. I'll still be an incel, though.
Not sure how that would work. I think he's just saying I'll still identify with the culture of incel, which is an incredibly unhealthy, immature culture. Dr. Bob, speaking about Groypers, not necessarily incels, says they are primarily young, disaffected white men who are often converts to Catholicism or EO who are white nationalists. Yep, that's exactly right. That's right. Ham Sunshine, good point. You are exactly right. Yeah. And COTD, the answer is yes. Yes, absolutely. He's a white nationalist. He's the one who made Christ the King associated with white supremacy. What a real shame that happened, isn't it? I believe Pepe the Frog came from Reddit or 4chan and kind of morphed into a meme for guys in the alt-right. I know, I just don't understand who he is or where he came from. Pepe the Frog. Okay, let me see. You got... Oh, boy.
Well, I'm not just some guy that just has some wagey job.
So there I was playing that one just to show you, first of all, he has an inflated view of himself. I'm leading a historic movement. I'm leading a historic, But that's part of his rationalization for his incelness. And what he's saying is when people can't handle him, they just go to the fact that talk about that aspect. And he's like, it's just a cope, which is, of course, another manosphere EO-based thing to say. It's cope. It's funny, they all talk about normies, but they have their own norms within their little subculture. Like, there's a such thing, basically, as a normie Groyper. You see what I'm saying? All right, listen to this. This clip is crazy. These are all the anti-woman misogynistic clips. Listen to this one, people. Listen to this one.
We need to go back to burning women alive more. Like when they're convicted of crimes, obviously, not random acts of violence. But remember that in medieval times, I've said this on the show before, when women were witches, what happened to them? They were burned alive. Real phenomenon. And we stopped doing that, and then everything went out of control. We said, oh, that was such a horrible tragedy. We really need to stop burning these women alive for casting spells. And then guess what happened? They started casting their spells again. They started speaking in devilish tongues and casting spells. And now we've got a totally fucked up society where the women are molesting your kids in primary schools. And women are accusing you of rape. Or they're raping you in some cases. Or they're killing you. And is Amber Heard one of these people who would not be sentenced to death for being a witch in medieval times? I mean, she probably would be. Would the world not be better if these sort of spell-casting witches receive something more than promotion at work? I don't know. I'm just saying things seem to work out a little bit better when the witch question was answered. The WQ, not the woman question, the witch question.
Okay. So there you see a few things. Nick Fuentes and his ilk have a number of people they like to blame societal woes upon. All right. They like to blame black folks for their woes. They like to blame migrant workers from other countries. They like to blame them as well. They like to blame JEWS. They like to blame milquetoast conservatives, as they would see it. And obviously the usual targets as well. So these are some of the people who they blame for societal woes. And obviously, as you can tell by that clip, they also like to blame women.
We need to go back to burning women alive more.
Burning women alive more. Now there's a thing where he'll say, oh, this is a joke. This is comedy. I'm doing a comedy. But also understand, like Bob had mentioned, he's what's called an integralist. An integralist. I'll explain what that means in a little bit, but that's actually relevant to this kind of rhetoric, Jay Will said his mother did something to him when he was a kid. Interestingly enough, his mother's been on his podcast, and apparently his mother supports what he does. Jacob Emanuel says he's a Catholic, right? Yes. Self-professed Roman Catholic. Yes. Jesse stating the obvious, but thank you for stating it. Burning people alive is barbaric. I agree. Excellent. Exactly right. Not a bad point, Titus. Okay, I got one more clip I'm going to play in this section, and then after this, we're going to hit a couple commercials, and then I'm going to come back, and we're going to do the next round. What do you guys want to see next? Do you want to see his pro-authoritarian videos? Do you want to see those? I got a batch of pro-authoritarian clips where he loves the Taliban and the small guy, this guy. Also, there's another batch of clips that deals with the J issue and the Holocaust issue. You want to see those next? Or do you want to see the ones that are just bad behavior? I got a one that's just the bad behavior, just general bad behavior. And then I have another one where he interacts with other conservatives. So there's 4 options to choose from. You let me know. This clip's audio, and I'm going to play this right now. And let's see what you guys have to say about this. I think you're ready for the next clip. Here we go. Oh, I'll give the context. In this one, he's going to say he can imagine himself one day accidentally killing his wife. That's what he's going to say here. And then on the previous one, the whole reason he said we need to burn women more is because he's saying that Amber Heard deserved to be burned for what she did with the Johnny Depp situation. So this is his commentary. So here we go.
Totally see myself accidentally killing my wife because I just get mad. We'll be like years into the marriage. I'm going to be like angry about something. It's going to be a little bit too hot in the house. It's going to be one of those days where I haven't slept all night. I haven't eaten in a day. So I'm like in the worst possible mood, and she's going to say something, and I'm going to just accidentally kill her. I'm just going to hit her, and she's going to hit her head on the counter, and she's just going to like die. And then it's over. Then people always say you don't have to get married because you need to dedicate all your time to this. It's like, forget about that. The real problem is I'm going to get married. I'm going to accidentally kill my wife, and then I'm going to be in jail forever. And that's going to be the problem. And then I can never run the movement, She's going to say something. I'm going to lose control. I'm going to blast her. And no, I'm kidding. Kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. These are just jokes. I would never put my hand on anyone. I'm a lover. I don't attack people.
Look at you. Bring out this reality that it was the early Black Jews in Harlem, Black Judaism, that gave birth Black Hebrew Israel, one West brand and variation of it.
Check out this shirt.
Hit it. Look at that. Urban theology. Yeah. Oh, that's hot, bro. Look at that.
All right. So this is the Urban Theologian.
Urban Theologian. There it is.
Urban Theologian shirt. I'm trying to let you be able to see it. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Street Apologist Live. How we doing out there? It's a beautiful day here in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's great to see everybody in the place to be. That's right. We are back and in effect. We are doing a Nick Fuentes critique. Nick Fuentes is a 25-year-old person who originally came to prominence being a streamer, you know, in the gaming culture and all of that, and has rose to prominence with his America First organization and has done things like throw parallel events to different conservative or even Republican events where he'll do something and even disrupt their events. In fact, later on, and I'm going to show some clips where he goes after Michael Knowles and Ben Shapiro and people like that. And so this is the kind of behavior he engages in. But the problem I have is not just with Nick Fuentes' behavior, but the fact that I run into Christians or Roman Catholics or Eastern Orthodox who say, yeah, I'm a Christian in one of those branches, and yet I support him, or I listen to him, or they'll go to bat for him, or they'll cape for him, or they'll throw cover for him. You see what I'm saying? Jay Will says, I've heard enough, my brother, love you, out, he's sick. So this is like the third person who's left. So it looks like people are not wanting to hear this. I understand that. Okay? I'd hate to say it, but it's going to get worse. As Master Oogway says, he's also a Holocaust denier. Many of them love to reference David Irving, but if you read his books, he doesn't give any sources of his claims. I'm going to play some of those clips in a second here in the next batch of clips. Here we're going to do this batch of clips, the pro-authoritarian clips. The pro-authoritarian clips. Because Faith Refined by Fire says he loves the Taliban. Well, yes and no. Let me just show you what we're talking about here. With the next batch of... I also got screenshots. It's not just clips, but let's get in. No sound. All right, that's my fault. I was still muted. We'll have to delete that part out later. But now we're playing the next batch of clips where Nick Fuentes is going to be pro-authoritarian. So here he's saying maybe the Taliban had it right after all. The Taliban is going to ban abortion, vaccines, and gay marriage. Maybe we're fighting on the wrong side for 20 years. So that's what we get a lot with these guys is sort of the idea that, you know, these authoritarian regimes, these authoritarian figures, they're not really so bad after all. And isn't it a strange thing to say that you run an organization called America First, but then you say maybe the Taliban's not so bad after all? And this is what's happening with these guys is they're getting desperate, and so they're more and more saying, maybe some of these authoritarian regimes aren't bad after all. It's not a good look, and that's why some of them apparently admire the man with the small mustache. Are you ready? Here we go. Hold on.
Not written. The First Amendment was not written for Muslims, by the way. It wasn't written for a barbaric ideology that wanted to come over and kill us. It was written for Calvinists. It was written for Lutherans and Catholics, not for Salafists, not for Wahhabists, not for the Saudi royal family. Don't think the founders had that one in mind. And it also was intended for citizens, not for immigrants. You know, if the First Amendment protected everyone's right to have their religion and express it in every country, we'd have our police in the Congo or in Uganda fighting against the Lord's Resistance Army.
Lord's Resistance Army is the rest of that quote. I just thought that one was funny because he doesn't really seem to mention Catholics in there, but yet he's trying to go back into something like the founding, but mixed with the Taliban. It's pretty bizarre. Well, it gets into something called integralist. So the idea with Catholic integralism is where you have the church and the state combined together again. This teaching is a certain kind of interpretation of Roman Catholic social teaching, and it says that you need to have an anti-pluralistic and pro-authoritarian Roman Catholic state. So similar to what happened in some medieval contexts in Europe, especially. And the idea is you have to have enough Catholics to do this, though, of course. And this is what he says he is. He says he's an integralist. It's sort of somewhat similar, but not identical, maybe to theonomists. I think they might find some common cause there, perhaps, you know. And so the idea is that Roman Catholic teaching should be the foundation for public law, for public policy within a society. And this is the idea, basically, apparently. And you can find different articles of this online these days because it's come to attention more and more. And it's from a Roman Catholic perspective, though, that he promotes his integralism. Here's some more clips that are pro-authoritarian by Nick.
Simple yes or no answer.
Oh, wait.
Hitler.
Hold
Good
on.
guy, bad guy.
Hold on. This one. So on this
the
one,
First Amendment was not written.
Okay. On this one, Nick Fuentes is on one of these valuetainment programs, right? You guys know perhaps valuetainment. Patrick, I forgot his full name, but that guy, you know. And on this, this is from a short. That's why it's called The Stuff on the Side here. But the guy says, simple question, was this guy a good guy or a bad guy? Listen to his answer.
Simple yes or no answer. Hitler. Good guy, bad guy.
That's a top. Well, there are no good and bad guys. They're just people.
Well, that's not true, dude.
It is true.
I mean, so if you had to check one box.
I'm going to say I'm neutral on that. I'm abstaining from
There's
that
no
one.
neutral.
You're saying that Hitler was not a bad guy?
I think that, it's
But then
World
you're
War.
questioning why people may not want you talking?
There's
I'm
a
giving
lot-
you a
well,
platform.
Look, if we're going to say Hitler bad, then I'm going to say Churchill bad, and I'm going to say Roosevelt bad, and I'm going to say they're all bad. But if we look at him as a product of his time in that moment, we have to judge him with those things in mind. That's all.
Simple yes or no answer.
Okay. Okay, look. People that call themselves Christians who think that Nick Fuentes is someone that you should defend. People who call themselves Roman Catholic who think that Nick Fuentes is someone that you should defend. I do not understand you. People who are even traditional conservatives who don't have just straight out unequivocal condemnation for Nick Fuentes. I do not understand you either. Yes, I understand people are complex and all of that I understand all that. But we can't just go around saying that for everything. I thought we were the ones who understood there's a such thing as moral objectives and objective morality. And so because of that, we understand actual categories of good and evil, right and wrong, bad and good. Right? How is it that Nick Fuentes understands that? And if you, in some way, support him in any way, to me, support doesn't have to mean, you send him money, which is, I guess it's difficult for him to even get money. He's kind of locked out of the financial system. But in any way, it's like, man, you're backwards. I just do not understand. Now, the thing is, if you wonder why I'm doing this, it's because I keep on running into this problem online where I'm seeing people who are giving him a pass. This figure is actually more popular than a lot of you guys realize, unfortunately. So notice he says, tell me, is this guy a bad guy or a good guy? Well, it's a complicated question. And then he says, well, if he's bad, then Churchill and Roosevelt are bad. What a bizarre moral equivocation. They are not the same. They are not equal. And notice that those are the opposition to Hitler, who was taking over countries. It's funny because Nick Fuentes is all America first, right? He's America first. Well, it seems like his idea that our country, America, should be able to have its own autonomy and self-determination and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying I disagree with that idea, but wouldn't that also go for other countries? Shouldn't it be Poland first and France first if you're in those countries? Wouldn't that make sense for their context? So do you think they're cool with what Germany did when it blitzkrieged on into their territory? And Faith Refined by Fire asked a question. I don't know if you know this, people. Donald Trump had dinner with this guy. Him and Ye and Trump down there in Florida having dinner together. And when I criticized this, I had people who said, what's wrong with having dinner for somebody? You would have dinner with a Hebrew Israelite. Okay. Number one, if I did have dinner with a Hebrew Israelite, which I have, it would be clear that my stance was one of general opposition to this person's ideas. Doesn't mean I couldn't be civil with him. Trump, it's like, why are you having dinner with those two jokers, those two clowns? Who had that happen? That's a bad decision. So I want to play this clip one more time because I don't even know if we need other clips, but we'll play more clips.
Simple yes or no answer. Hitler, good guy, bad guy?
That's a tough. Well, there are no good and bad guys. They're just people.
But that's not true, dude.
It is true.
I mean, so if you had to check one box.
I'm going to say I'm neutral on that. I'm abstaining from
There's
that
no
one.
neutral.
You're saying that Hitler was not a bad guy?
I think that, it's a
But then
world
you're
war.
questioning why people may not want.
He said, I think it's a world war. Yeah, it's a world war that he started. It's a world war. As if Germany was just another actor in WW2. No. Yeah, it's a world. Why is it a world war, Nick? I mean, your boy in England said, we've got peace in our time. He thought he had a pact with him, and so did Stalin, but it didn't work out. Didn't work out. There are no good and bad people. How is that even a Roman Catholic thing to say?
Are you talking?
There's
I'm
a
giving
lot-
you a
well,
platform.
Look, if we're going to say Hitler bad, then I'm going to say Churchill bad, and I'm going to say Roosevelt bad, and I'm going to say they're all bad. But if we look at him as a product of his time in that moment, we have to judge him with those things in mind. That's all.
Simple yes or no answer.
We do that, and we see that he had people like Dietrich Bonhoeffer killed. There were voices against him in Germany. He's not just a product of his time. He stomped out opposition. The Night of Broken Glass. He's the one who created the time. You see what I'm saying? The ovens and the camps and the trains and the showers and the gas. He did that. And the experiments. He did. Oh, but you don't believe in that. Oh, you think that's a myth, huh? Okay.
16 and 17. I saw something on Twitter. I don't even know if this is true, but something on Twitter said like all of Hitler's girlfriends were 16 and 17. And Alex Jones, I don't even know if that's true, but if that is, that's probably why Alex Jones called Hitler a pedophile. And it's like you faggots would be saying the same thing about Hitler. MLK was a rapist and Hitler was a pedophile. It's like, you know what? The world's a little bit more complicated than that. Okay? The world's a little bit more complicated than you're making it out to be. Hitler was a pedophile and kind of a pagan. It's like, well, he was also really fucking cool. So, you know, time to grow up. We're not children anymore. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right, boys? Am I right? Let's go. He was also really fucking cool. And any boy knows that. Anybody that watches these videos where he's rolling down the street and stuff, it's like, this guy's awesome. This guy's cool. I saw something on Twitter. I don't even know if...
Keep in mind who he's talking about there. This guy. I have never watched a video of him as a boy or as a man and thought, this guy's pretty cool. And it's weird. He says it's time to grow up. Meanwhile, he's doing impersonations and mocking people, making jokes about PDF files, all in the context. And then says, well, it's more complicated than that. Notice, he's here saying how cool he is. So instead of saying it's complicated, when the guy asked him the question, his thoughts, he should have just said he's a good guy. Because isn't it obvious that's what he's saying here? Man.
I can't have a personal checking account. I can't have credit card processing on my website.
You didn't know that you were going to get banned, though, when you started saying all this stuff.
I think it was pretty established even back then. Chuck Johnson, Milo, all those guys got banned way before me. It would be far more lucrative to do what you do and talk about Hamas as the enemy of the world, because there's no shortage of jobs for people that carry water for that.
Okay.
I can't have a personal checking account. I can't have credit card processing on my website.
You didn't.
So there, he's talking to more people on the Valuetainment show, these other people who are on there, right? And the discussion is, are you doing this just to make money or whatever? And he says, no, I didn't. And he's saying, you know, I've been locked out of the financial system and all this, right? And then says, it'd be more lucrative to do what you do and say, Hamas is the enemy of the world. Imitating someone condemning Hamas as if they're wrong. Hey, Nick Fuentes, you pride yourself in being this like deep thinking guy. Have you read the Hamas charter? Hamas basically says they are the enemy of the world, at least the non-Islamic world, and their documents. They point to the imperialistic passages in the Quran. They first, of course, apply it to Israel, but they don't want to stop in Israel because they have the idea of a global Sharia. So, hey, Nick, they are one of many. They would be yours. They would be Roman Catholic. But enemies, you know, or at least that's what they would want. So I do not understand this. And again, have you folks watched what Hamas did to Israel? I have. I've watched the videos.
Know that you were going to get banned, though, when you started saying all this stuff.
I think it was pretty established even back then. Chuck Johnson, Milo, all those guys got banned way before me. It would be far more lucrative to do what you do and talk about Hamas as the enemy of the world, because there's no shortage of jobs for people that carry water for that.
So if you say Hamas is evil or condemn Hamas, then you're carrying water. He says carry water for that. What's he mean by that? He's saying carry water for Israel. You don't even have to be pro-Israel to be anti-Hamas. This is bizarre, man. This is bizarre. This is bizarre. But this is what's going on. This is what's going on. Okay. Got some more clips for you. Want to play a quick commercial? We will be right back on Street Apologist Live. Do not go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Got some more clips. We'll be back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Street Apologist Live. I am your host, Vocab Malone. How you doing today? This is the show where we serve the underserved and look into the overlooked. I specialize in Christian urban apologetics. Today's a little bit different, but this does relate to some things I cover, and so that's why I'm tackling it. I hope that it's beneficial to you. And we are talking about Nick Fuentes, a popular online personality, and his admiration for the man with the tiny mustache and authoritarian regimes in general, and his obvious and clear racism and anti-Semitism. And that's what we're going to play right now, is some of the anti-Semitic clips where he gets into all kinds of things here. We'll just call this the racism category in general, but part of it is where he's a Holocaust denier, as you could probably guess and has been mentioned here. So let me go ahead and show you what we're talking about here on Street Apologist Live. And I appreciate every one of you. If you're coming in, please hit that like button. Please make sure you've subscribed to the channel and hit that bell for notifications so that you don't miss anything. And would you just leave a comment and let us know that you're here? Also, answer the poll and be sure to look. There are ways to support. They're on the screen, and one is also pinned to the top of the show. So we've got all that going on. And right now we are going to play some more clips. And first, let me give some background to this clip, okay? So if you remember back in 2023, late 2023, Kanye actually apologized briefly to the Jewish community in a message, and this is a Variety news story about it. And when he apologized, he actually did it in Hebrew. And people theorized, such as you kind of get the hint here in the article, that maybe it was done by ChatGPT, Hebrew edition or something akin to that. But nonetheless, he did apologize. Now, let's find out what he apologized for. And I'm going to read briefly from this article here in Variety about the apology. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because you're going to see Nick Fuentes' reaction to it, which is going to be surprisingly vile, okay? And this is where Alex Jones is also going to come into the picture. So this is from the article. It says this: the boilerplate nature of the message, translated into English, led many fans and detractors alike to wonder whether the message was really written by West or a business associate, or even ChatGPT, coming so shortly after the superstar was captured live on camera, sounding the opposite of penitent. The translation seen at the top of the comment section for Ye's fresh post reads, quote, "I sincerely apologize to the Jewish community for any unintended outburst." That doesn't even make sense. Unintended outburst? Do you mean like, anyways, caused by my words or actions. It was not my intention to hurt, disrespect, and I deeply regret any pain I may have caused. I am committed to starting with myself and learning from this experience to ensure greater sensitivity and understanding in the future. Your forgiveness is important to me, and I am committed to making amends and promoting unity. So here's what he said. Now, I'm going to show you what he was apologizing for, and then I'm going to show you, actually, let me show you this. First, let me show you. This is Nick's reaction to the apology. Watch this. This is Nick's reaction to the apology. Now, first of all, notice how he's going to say we got a tough pill to swallow, and he's going to describe it as a black pill.
Kind of a big, tough black pill for all of us to swallow tonight. Not exactly surprising. Disappointing, but not really a surprise. Our featured story tonight, we're talking about Ye, formerly a presidential candidate in this election, who has officially apologized to the Jews. And last night at midnight on Christmas, Ye officially and formally apologized to the Jews in Hebrew for a so-called anti-Semitic outburst in which he praised Hitler. And we don't know if we're talking about the outburst last week or if it was about what happened last year. But it doesn't really make a difference. He apologized, and it's so over. It's a total capitulation. I never thought I would see it.
So he's upset because Kanye apologized. And here's part of what Kanye apparently apologized for. Ready?
You're not Hitler. You're not a Nazi. You don't deserve to be called that and demonized.
Well, I see good things about Hitler also. I love everyone, and Jewish people are not going to tell me you can love, us, and you can love what we're doing to you with the contracts, and you can love what we're pushing with the pornography. But this guy that invented highways, invented the very microphone that I use as a musician, you can't say out loud that this person ever did anything good. And I'm done with that. I'm done with the classifications. Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table, especially Hitler.
I don't think Hitler was a good guy. I get the Hugo Boss uniforms, amazing. But I mean, just because you're in love with the design, you're a designer. Can we just kind of say, like, you like the uniforms, but that's about it? There's a lot of things that I love about Hitler. A lot of things.
A lot. So notice you have Ye, and you have Alex Jones, and you have Nick Fuentes. You see, that's the panel. And so Nick is upset and sad that Kanye apologized apparently for this. But it doesn't stop there.
An occult element at the high levels of society, and specifically among the Jews. So many of the people that are perpetrating the lies and the destruction on the country, they are evildoers. They are people that worship false gods. They are people that practice magic or rituals or whatever. And more than anything, those people need to be, when we take power, they need to be given the death penalty. Straight up. And I'm far more concerned about that than I am about even non-white people or mass migration. These people that are communing with demons and engaging in this sort of witchcraft and stuff, and these people that are suppressing the name Christ and suppressing Christianity, they must be absolutely annihilated when we take power. This is God's country. This is Jesus' country. This is not the domain of atheists or devil worshippers or perfidious Jews. This is Christ's country.
My goodness. And notice what he said there. He said, I'm more worried about that than I even am non-white people. I don't know if you caught that. So when he says perfidious Jews, he puts an adjective in front of them. Perfidious means deceptive or shifty or untrustworthy. So he puts that adjective in front of the noun Jews. Perfidious Jews, the deceptive, shifty Jews there. And then he couches all that in Christian concern. This is God's country, Christ is king, So I want you to listen to this one more time carefully.
An occult element at the high levels of society, and specifically among the Jews.
So he's saying Jews specifically are into occultic witchcraft-like practices. Okay, step one.
So many of the people that are perpetrating the lies and the destruction on the country, they are evildoers. They are people that worship false gods. They are people that practice magic or rituals or whatever. And more than anything, those people need to be, when we take power, they need to be given the death penalty.
So if you guys have said, I don't like Sharia law, what Islam is, then I don't see how you can then say, but this is cool what this guy's saying. Isn't this exactly what the Roman Catholic Church did to us Protestants? It's exactly what was done to us. You understand? This same type of logic from his integralist perspective, that's why we got killed like we did. And even when it wasn't Rome officially doing it, you had things like the St. Bartholomew's Massacre, in which Roman Catholic influenced governments, such as the French government at that time, slaughtered about 100,000 Protestants. Look it up. It's wild. The more people don't know about the St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre. So listen to what he says here.
Straight up. And I'm far more concerned about that than I am about even non-white people or mass migration.
I'm more concerned about magic practicing Jews, he's saying, than non-white people. This is why people say he's a white nationalist or white supremacist. Do you understand? Rightfully so.
These people that are communing with demons and engaging in this sort of witchcraft and stuff, and these people that are suppressing the name Christ and suppressing Christianity, they must be absolutely annihilated when we take power. This is God's country. This is Jesus' country. This is not the domain of atheists or devil worshippers or perfidious Jews. This is Christ's country.
Wow. Notice how the first two are like belief systems, you know, atheists, devil worshippers, and then perfidious Jews. Like, what, we're just going to round them up and kill them? This is bizarre, man. Why do you people give this guy a pass? How come when I bring this guy up and criticize him on X, I get someone saying, well, what about this? Or, what's the full context of this discussion? Sometimes you don't need to aggressively oppose or go to bat for something. Meaning, you know, like if I bring up Nick Fuentes and someone says, no, I love Nick, he's great, you know, F you and F the brown races. Okay, that's an obvious aggressive way to approach it. Others of you, though, say, well, let's consider this, or let's look at this issue, or doesn't he make a good point about this? It's sort of more subtle way of caping for this kind of behavior. But you're still doing the same thing. You're trying to nuance these positions into death as if that's what they deserve. This deserves outright condemnation, brothers and sisters. Now, here, you're going to see Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro is a conservative Jewish man, right? And he is sort of a standard conservative in a way these days, right? Mainstream, all right? Here, he's going to be criticizing Nick Fuentes when Nick was trying to just have a conversation about the Holocaust, where he's going to talk about baking cookies and cookie ovens and the cookie monster. And that's how he's going to discuss it. And so Ben Shapiro now is interacting with the quote. So he's going to be reading some of Nick Fuentes' quote about the Holocaust, which is really guys in cookie language. I know this is weird that I'm explaining this. And then at the bottom, he's on a green screen. Nick is going to be reacting to it. I know it's a lot going on. Now there's three of us on the screen. Ben Shapiro in the middle, Nick Fuentes down there, and then me up here. But listen to what Nick says and listen to what by the way, Ben Shapiro's exactly right here. And Nick is exactly wrong. Watch.
Upset about
Holocaust itself, you have some questions. You do.
No, I would never question the Holocaust.
Like this, a direct quote from a lead influencer in the alt-right.
Me.
Says,
I'm not in the alt-right.
If I take 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies and Cookie Monster has 15 ovens working 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years, how long does it take Cookie Monster to make 6 million batches of cookies?
Okay, I'm going to stop. So do you understand? So this is Ben Shapiro, and he's quoting, because I've seen the video. So he is talking about Nick Fuentes. So he doesn't mention his name. And he says, I'm not in the alt-right. I don't know what Nick's saying by that because Richard Spencer came up with that. Not Robert Spencer, Richard Spencer, the white supremacist. And to me, Nick Fuentes is perfectly in line with that. So in this, he's gonna say, oh, you just have some questions about the Holocaust? Because that's the way sometimes these Holocaust deniers do. I just have some questions. So he's going to just have some questions. And the 6 million, obviously, is the point where you see, oh, obviously he's talking about the death toll. And so Nick's down there in the bottom. I would never question it. So here we go. Listen to this carefully, okay?
Upset about
Holocaust
this.
itself, you have some questions. You do.
No, I
Those
would never
questions
question the Holocaust.
Like this, a direct quote from a lead influencer in the alt-right.
Me.
Says,
I'm not in the
if
alt-right.
I take 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies and Cookie Monster has 15 ovens working 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years, how long does it take Cookie Monster to make 6 million batches of cookies? I don't know. That's a good question. No, that doesn't sound really correct to me. Wait a second. It takes 1 hour to build a batch of cookies, and you have 15 ovens, probably in 4 different kitchens, right, doing 24 hours a day for 5 years. How long would it take to get to 6 million? I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be 5 years, right? The math doesn't seem to add up there. None of it really adds up. None of it really makes sense. This crazy cookie analogy. 6 million cookies? Nah, I don't buy it. That's all irony. I'm an irony bro.
Ben Shapiro said irony,
Kind
bro.
of stuff some of these folks are saying.
That was all ironic. I'm an irony, bro. I said it was ironic. Oh, that's so funny.
Ham Sunshine says, getting Marge shot vibes. $1 million beep and a Jewish agent. Bro, the fact that you are referencing Marge Schott is killing me right now. I'm a big Cincinnati Reds fan. And there was an owner for the Reds who was named Marge Schott, mainly during the 80s when they had some amazing players and amazing teams, especially Mr. Red himself, Eric Davis. But we can't forget the great Barry Larkin. There's a whole list, right? Paul O'Neill, Hal Morris, it's a whole list. Jose Rijo, it's a whole list. Rob Dibble, it's a whole list, okay. Norm Charlton, whatever. Marge Schott was a super racist, even though she was important because she was a Cincinnati Reds baseball owner. And the quote there is a bleeped out one, referring to her black racism against black folks, and anti-Semitism. Yeah, I'm getting the same kind of vibes there, Ham Sunshine. Now, let's listen to the next clip where he's laughing while Ben Shapiro is describing this. And part of this clip, Ben Shapiro is going to be talking about what actually happened in the ovens. Watch this.
Theology down. Nick Fuentes made a joke about the Cookie Monster. Oh, fuck off, you piece of shit.
For the record, by the way, just so the facts are on the record, according to Henrik Tauber, a member of the Sonder Commando who worked in several of Birkenau's gas chambers.
Oh, come on, Ben.
So Ben's saying, hey, just so you know, this really did happen. Let me give you a testimony from somebody who worked in the gas chambers. And Nick Fuentes laughs at it. What is wrong with this person? And how is this a person? This person should be excommunicated from the Roman Catholic Church. If his name's on the rolls of the register, and if he's attending Mass, he says he's a Roman Catholic, he should be excommunicated. Do we agree? I agree. So he's going to curse here, so listen to this.
Down. Nick Fuentes made a joke about the Cookie Monster. Oh, fuck off, you piece of shit.
For the record, by the way, just so the facts are on the record, according to Henrik Tauber, a member of the Sonder Commando who worked in several of Birkenau's gas chambers.
Oh, come on, Ben. Just so we set the record straight, there were. We're gonna do this now. We're gonna relitigate Holocaust denial. It was a fucking joke, dummy.
Bodies a day. The procedure was to put the first body with the feet toward the muffle, back down and face up.
No,
and
see, just so everybody knows. Hey, just so anybody doesn't even ask again, it did happen.
The bodies put in first soon started to burn. Their arms and legs rose up. Women's bodies burned much better and more quickly than those of men. For this reason, when a charge was burning badly, we would introduce a woman's body to accelerate the combustion.
Ron Oons, American Pravda. If you're interested.
In fact, it seems like some
You're
members of the
interested.
alt-right, they have a pretty large problem with Jews generally.
No, we don't.
They'll
I
tweet
love you,
things like,
bro.
quote, so-called Jewish values tend to favor liberal and internationalist positions like abortion, foreign
I say
intervention, multiculturalism, homosexuality, and
I
mass
think I
immigration.
said that.
Some of you will say that you're hurt in your daily existence by Jews. You've suggested that a religious Catholic who writes for my...
Beats by Giro says this is super old footage. Okay, what's the relevance of that? Now, when you say super old footage, it's all within the last 6 or 7 years, because he wasn't even known before that. You know, he was only like 25. So it's super old footage. If you think super old footage is within the last 5 or 6 years, I don't actually even agree. So super old footage should have a longer shelf life than that. You're thinking in the internet kind of way, you know, microwave quick. But what does that have to do with it? Tell me your comment, because I want to be charitable. But what's that have to do with something there? Far 4 says he thinks he can get away with his Nazi ideas using humor. That's exactly right. So the book he's referencing is Ron Unz. It's called Encountering American Pravda, Essays in a Historical Counter-Narrative. And there you get this other perspective, you know, and you can see the truth is the idea here. I don't know if you heard what he was saying there because the music is kind of loud on the clip that they compiled this on. He says, oh, you think it'd be good news when I tell you 6 million people didn't die? Hey, isn't that good news? So that's pure Holocaust denial. I understand. Well, there we go. We've got one in the live chat. I prefer his honesty to the politicians who do nothing but brown-nose Israel and don't care for America. Beats by Giro, how is Nick Fuentes America first when he thinks that the Taliban has it right and maybe we shouldn't have been fighting them for the past 20 years? Do you not believe that the Taliban housed Osama bin Laden and al-Qaeda, who was responsible for 9/11, for example? And you're saying he's honest. It's not honest to deny the Holocaust because it's been thoroughly documented. It's not honest. He's living in an alternate reality. He's not honest. He's delusional. Beats by Giro says, but I do research. What's your research that you've done? Please tell us what research you've done. Faith Reformed by Fire is exactly on point there. Exactly on point. All right. Oh, there you go. Classic response from someone who doesn't have any evidence. Do your own research. You know, I've got a book I'm working on called Do Your Own Research because this is a common tactic. When someone tells you a conspiracy theory and they don't have evidence for it, they say, do your own research. Hey, buddy, you made the claim. So you got to give some of the evidence. Shout out to BK Apologist in the live chat. Everyone subscribe to his channel as well. So there we get some of the
really shows the iron who's boss, but then he receives his paycheck.
Hold on. Anti-Jewish and Israeli rhetoric. Just give me 1 second here. I'm going to load up some more clips. We'll be right back here on Street Apologists Live, and we're going to talk more about Nick Fuentes. Don't go anywhere.
From Lighthouse Publishing, Judah Nation Radio. I'll tell you about a book that we just helped print and publish. Barack Obama versus the Black Hebrew Israelites. It's written by one of my friends, Vocab Malone. Vocab has done a great job of going through and presenting almost like an introductory manual to the Black Hebrew Israelite religion and also giving you some talking points from scripture. This is a great book for you guys to read. If you guys are not familiar with the Black Hebrew Israelite movement, it's a movement that is sweeping its way through a lot of urban churches as well as a lot of urban ministries. We are called to, at all costs, to preach the word, defend the gospel by counteracting. Get the book if you're into apologetics. Get the book if you're into defending the gospel. And also if you're involved in any type of urban ministry where you see this going around, get informed about it so that you can really counteract it by having a little bit of knowledge before it, because you can't argue against something that you don't know about. Now, so you definitely want to get this. It's about 140 pages. I admonish you guys to get this book. You can order it at the website listed below. You can also look up Vocab on all of the social media networks. Purchase the book. It's a great price.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Street Apologists Live. My name is Vocab Malone, Christian urban apologist. Today we're discussing something a little bit different. It's Nick Fuentes, the man you see on the screen, young man, 25 years old, Roman Catholic, popular Was a YouTuber at one point. These days he's on Rumble. So now this section of the evidence I'm going to give has to do with his general racism. So I've already showed his anti-Semitism. Now let's get into his general racism. Here's a social media post by Nick in which he says this. What's really important to understand is that the crisis in race relations in the country basically amounts to black failure. And how do we explain the continued disparity in just about every measure between the races? Libertarians think that it's politically expedient to just hand-wave this stuff away with economic freedom zones and liberalization and stuff like this. The problem is that if race realism is true, probably no policy will ever succeed in closing these gaps. Meanwhile, the non-white population is getting emboldened and impatient and larger in numbers. All right. So here we go with this. He says that when he was in high school, he was a libertarian. All right. I'm a libertarian conservative, lowercase l, not part of the party, but politically I would be a libertarian with a lowercase l, as in libertarian conservative, if that makes sense. So when we look at this, I would be one of the people he'd basically be talking about, and he'd be talking about himself, I guess, in the past. So he holds to something called race realism, and the idea there, is my understanding, is that it has to do with the fact that we, the race realists in this context, I'm not one of them, understand that racial differences and disparity are genetically based. And there's one that they'll talk about, for example, called the warrior gene in peoples of African descent. It gets into a whole murky bunch of stuff, but he's saying that on one hand, and notice he's saying the real problem is black failure. And then it ends with non-white populations. This is good old white nationalism. Shout out now to Take K's, who says, been watching you for years. Vocab, keep up the good work, and don't forget that America first is inevitable. Oh, wow. That's a Nick Fuentes. That's what he says. He goes around saying Nick Fuentes goes around saying America first is inevitable. So am I to understand you being one of the herd there? Is this your guy? Now I do appreciate the super chat. Oops, I just messed up with the dogs. But since you gave a super chat, I do got to give the dog a treat. Adrian. Hey, yo, Adrian. There we go. All right. That's what we do here on Street Apologist Live, is you get a super chat and she gets hooked up. All right. Let's go to the next thing that shows basically he's just a good old-fashioned racist. Listen to this. Okay, hold
worse
on.
Murder. Chicago is, we've got a worse murder rate than Afghanistan, but you're ignoring all the excellence that happens in Chicago. Like, look at this shitty mural that some black kid from some Chicago public school made. Yeah, that looks really good, Quan. That looks really great. Look at all this Chicago excellence, right? Look at drill music, trap music, people killing each other. That's so epic, right? And you were born of incest? You were born of inbreeding? That might be anti-Semitic if we were to say we were going to pop those people off. So I'm not going to say that. That might be, that might pose some problems when we look at certain ethnic groups. But, and then it's somewhere.
Hold on. I explain. So first of all, just the general way he talks about these issues, it's clear he's racist in a number of ways. I think it should be able to be understood. Here he's on with other streamers, the most popular being Destiny. They went back and forth over stuff there. But the second part, I don't know if you guys caught it, basically he's saying that a lot of Jewish people are inbred. He's making a joke about their ethnic lineage. This is all very neo-Nazi stuff, by the way. So this is just showing general racism extends beyond anti-Semitism into anti-black.
For prosperity, we said, you know what we're missing? All those people from those countries that don't work. All those illiterate, violent peasants from south of the border, and we don't go there. We just need them. Let's just introduce them into the equation. It's not lively enough. We need more problems. We need more violence. I don't understand.
So there, obviously people in other countries, the idea is they're trash human beings is basically what he's saying, and we're bringing them here to to destroy our own country, and I don't get it, he's saying. Next clip. This one, he does
prosperity, we said, gee.
And this next one, he's doing a DNA test, sharing his DNA results, and I guess he's like 2% African. And someone in the live chat makes a joke and says, don't wear your Jordans around him. And listen to what he says. Listen to this. Watch this.
My dad's like, you could start a casino. I'm like, well, two schools of thought, right? Sub-Saharan African, 1.3%. Jordans around, don't wear Jordans around Nick. That's right. I'll beat the shit out of you and steal them if you're wearing those Jordans. If you're wearing them Jordans. I'm there brushing them with a toothbrush and all that. You better watch yourself. Or if you have an iPhone. That's terrible.
So he shares his DNA, right? And the first part is the joke about his parents said, oh, you could own a casino. And then the other part is this idea of, oh, look, I said it was 2%, but it's 1.3%. So they make a joke about you can't wear your Jordans around him. Obviously, it's anti-black humor.
My dad's like, you could start a casino.
What's strange about that is he's still friends with Bryson Gray. And Bryson Gray is still friends with him. So Bryson Gray is known to be a Christian rapper, super political, super Trump, as you could probably guess by what he's wearing. And they're cool, it appears. And you've got him wearing a shirt that says Baked Alaska did nothing wrong. Baked Alaska is a former MMA, I think UFC fighter. I know he's MMA. And Baked Alaska was part of the January 6th riots. He actually live streamed from the Capitol inside. Nick Fuentes was part of that. But then later on, after being part of it in some way, now I don't think he went into any buildings because he didn't get popped like that. But after being part of encouraging the January 6th insanity, then later on claimed that it was probably a false flag, So now I want to try to be fair to Bryson Gray. Maybe he's trying to operate in love here. Now let me share a quick, brief personal story about this. I got kicked out of a Christian school in high school, and I graduated from Marion Franklin High School. Look it up, you'll see the kind of school I went to. But before I went to Marion Franklin, which was my neighborhood school in Columbus, Ohio, I got kicked out of a different school, a Christian school that I went to briefly. While I was there was a guy there who was sympathetic to neo-Nazi ideas, and he shaved his head bald, just like American History X. He was like a copycat of someone from the cast of American History X. And we did biographies of people, and he literally did his on Hitler and ended saying Hitler was a great man. Oops, I'm trying not to say his name, but it's too late. I just did. I had great disdain for this person because of this behavior. I did not like this person at all. I had a friend named Ryan who was a black student there, and we were on the basketball team together. And, stayed at each other's houses. We were in a little rap group at the time called Catch Wreck Click. Anyways, Ryan went out of his way to be kind to this student, which I did not understand. It's like, why are you cool with him? He's like a AH supporter, this other student. Why? And Ryan was like, I'm trying to show him that the stereotypes aren't true, and I'm trying to show him the love of Christ. And I just couldn't support Ryan's friendliness to this neo-Nazi supporting student. I was like, bro, it's crazy. Okay, whatever. But you know what's crazy? That student that was a neo-Nazi supporter years later repented and became born again and became a youth group leader and everything else, and had a radical conversion and testimony into a different person, a changed person. And I think Ryan's witness to him was part of it. And ironically enough, Ryan himself later on walked away from the faith, and this other guy is now a solid believer. I don't know what's going to happen at the end of that. They're both still alive, so I don't know the future of that. But that's what's going on. If it's frozen, by the way, just go ahead and refresh. I'll do one thing that I might be able to fix on my end. I'll do one thing here. But whenever that happens, go ahead and just Well, I can't change it now. I'll have to change it later. Okay, so there's that. There's that. Now let's look at this. Bryson Gray maybe is doing something like my friend Ryan did, is my point by that story. Bryson Gray tweeted this. Nick Fuentes is one of the few people that I've defended publicly, and he has returned the favor even when I'm going at it with his own followers. And for that, I won't be going back and forth with groypers anymore out of respect for Nick. I'll just mute or block if they get weird. So obviously Bryson Gray's probably had some trouble because these groypers are racists. But he's saying, I'm not going to argue with them anymore, okay? Now, check this out. This is a picture that I'm going to explain here in a second. Posted under this tweet. Well, what's that a picture of? Well, Bryson Gray invited Nick Fuentes over to his house for the barbecue in real life. And Nick Fuentes came in and he brought the Hawaiian punch. So this is like considered like a iconic moment by groypers, I suppose, in one way where they will say, oh, he's not racist. Look, he was hanging out with Bryson Gray. And so Bryson Gray was saying, you know, we gave you the baked macaroni and cheese. You know, we got you the yams. And Nick Fuentes before the barbecue was like, I'm usually not invited to the barbecue. I'm usually not invited to the barbecue, but I've never had soul food before. So, and he was there and then had very kind and good things to say about Bryson Gray and his family because they were kind to him. And so I'm hoping that it's something like a Ryan story. Miss Titus Jones says that's a beautiful story. Praise God. It is a beautiful story, and I hope it goes down that way. And pray for my brother Ryan. Last names though. Okay, now continuing on. That's all odd and interesting to me, but there's more to this section, and it's like this. Oh wait, is that it? Hold on. Okay, yeah. Okay. There's other stuff that I want to show that's sort of his bad behavior in general. And by the way, real quick, I want to just show one thing I was saying. The American regime used tech censorship, COVID hoax, election fraud, and capital false flag to put down the revolt started by Trump in 2016 and ensure it can't happen again. So I was just making the point that even though he was involved with the Capitol riots, as far as, encouraging them, from what I could tell, he's saying it's a false flag now. Now, I'm going to play some more clips of just what I would describe as his general bad behavior. And then I'm going to play some clips of him going after other conservatives because he's cool with Bryson Gray, but not cool with Michael Knowles and Ben Shapiro. And here's another thing from the Valuetainment joint.
Talk to people that know me. I'm a polite, respectful person, and I treat everybody in a respectful way. I happen to have views that politically are totally against the system. And therefore, the media, which we know is controlled by the system, doesn't have nice things to say about me.
Do you really have sympathy for this guy whining about people having not nice things to say about him? I mean, think about all these clips we've played and how many not nice things he said about people. I mean, my goodness. Like, oh, they don't have nice... And it's not just because your views, just because. It's also your behavior, the way you act. Now I'm going to show a TMZ clip, and yes, I'm going to give the context, but it's funny. He just said this.
I would say that if you talk to people that know me, I'm a polite, respectful person, and
Polite, respectful person. Check out Nick.
Whoa! I did.
Do you know what that is?
Polite, respectful person. Now, I guess what happened is, the reason why Nick threw his drink in and out is because someone threw ketchup at him first. So if you zoom in, there's ketchup there because I guess they threw ketchup at him. And so polite, respectful Nick responded by throwing his drink and hitting people in the process.
Get me in trouble. This show is just, wow, when do we go off the rails? No argument. There's no need to reason with these people, okay? Shut the fuck up, Roasty. Okay, Boomer. Okay, Jew. Faggot. Shut up, bitch. These are the two hands. These are the two hands that are gonna save the white race. That's a joke, all right? It's a joke. I'm sorry. Who's the leader of the United Kingdom? Oh, it's a woman?
Well, I gotta warn you, is this a path you want to go down? Is this something you really want to do? You really want...
There's nice, respectful Nick. Did you guys see nice, respectful Nick there? No, you didn't see Nice Respectful Nick? Because I didn't see Nice Respectful Nick either. Now, when we come back, I'm just going to have, I think, 2 more clips that I'm going to show. This is the last little break we're going to play, and then I got 2 more clips we're going to play. Just give me 1 second, okay? Just 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Just 1 second, and we will be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Street Apologists Live. How you doing? My name is Vocab Malone. This is a Christian Urban Apologetics program, the show where we serve the underserved and look into the overlooked. Please support what we do here. And this is the last segment here where we're going to talk about Nick Fuentes. And I would just want to share a few things. Let me share this with you, first of all, from my Twitter. Let's see if it pops up here. I hope it does. Okay, look, it actually is working. And I just want to show you something because I don't think I'm going to have time to get to this that I would like to get to, which is an article. But I'm going to have to put the link there in the live chat real quick. This article right here. I tweeted this May 9th in preparation for the show. And it says here, an article by Brad Littlejohn at World. And that is something you all need to follow is World. Every single one of you need to follow World. And I am following them. And I was trying to do the thing where I do all notifications. They are a great news service and podcast organization that is intellectual and absolutely fantastic. And what they do is have different opinion columns as well as news. And here's one by Brad Littlejohn. And this article popped out, and I wish I could read it right now, but we're going to run out of time. This is from May 9th. Conservatives are enjoying a moment of moral superiority at the open and violent displays of anti-Semitism on progressive college campuses. But what about the toxic anti-Semitism we've been allowing to brew in our own ranks? And notice who he's got there in the pictures, Nick Fuentes. I encourage everyone to watch, to look at this. I'm going to repost it right now, or retweet it as they used to call it. I've already hearted it. And shout out to that. And I'm just giving that article a plug, as well as I wish I had time to play this clip, but I may not. But I encourage you to follow me on X because I sometimes post stuff like this. Here you've got Joel Webbin, who's a Calvinist, a Reformed pastor, who's a theonomist, basically sharing the same sentiment about we need authoritarian leaders to deal with issues. And I hate the fact that I shared this and agreed with Right Wing Watch. But there's a serious problem. And specifically, here's the problem, as I noted. Why does one who believes in the miracle of regeneration pushing for a political and non-gospel solution, which is sure not to work anyway, because he's saying what we need is an authoritarian dictator who's going to enforce moral compliance. The dominance of secularism has apparently made us desperate. When I say us, I'm saying fellow Christians. Instead of wishing for the return of Christ, pray for the return. Instead of wishing for the return of Caesar, pray for the return of Christ, because he says we need a Caesar-like figure. Now, the problem is, since he's a post-millennialist, he doesn't think Christ is going to come back anytime soon. So that's why he's advocating this. But we don't need the return of a Caesar. We need the return of Christ. Shout out to Ham Sunshine for the super chat. Let's give the dog a treat. Here you go, Adrian. Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you very much for the super chat and supporting this work. Okay, so it looks like one other thing I'm going to show you, and I'm going to try to play this. And this is May 8th, and I said this is why I'm set to do a theological critique of this devil. I might play this clip of Nick Fuentes. You can see the text there on the screen. Just give me some time. But first, let's look here before we get into our last final 2 clips, maybe 3 if we have time, at some comments in the live chat. I was wondering when these might pop up, and it seems like we've got them now. Check this out. Now, we've described what a groyper is already, right? And now we've got one with us. We've got one with us. AB2 Groyper says, you're Jewish. Me? I'm part Sicilian and non-Jewish. If I was Jewish, I would let you know because I wouldn't be ashamed about it. I am pro-Jewish, though. All right? But I'm not Jewish myself. And I just want to show what else we've got here. We've got the American first with the frog and the flag. You're just literally imitating learned behavior here, so you might as well be a bot, honestly. And then look at this comment. Vocab Maloneberg. What do you guys understand that? What he's saying there? You guys should understand what he's saying there. AB2 Grouper. Nick Fuentes is a great guy and handsome. Vocab equals Mossad, which is the Israeli intelligence agency. Okay, whatever. Well, let's play these two clips. This is where Michael Knowles is speaking, and a Groiper, much like the one we have in the live chat, challenges Mike Knowles, the Roman Catholic, and listen to what he says. I like this clip. Here we go.
Afterwards, you try to slander him by associating him with racial bigotry and the alt-right, as you just said. The alt-right, which you
He's whining here, this guy, saying that you slander Nick Fuentes by associating him with racial bigotry. Have we not established from the posts and videos we've played today that Nick Fuentes definitely can be associated with racial bigotry? And he says he's not part of the alt-right, but how is he not? But definitely racial bigotry.
try to slander him by associating him with racial bigotry and the alt-right, as you just said. The alt-right, which you describe as godless. Now, Mr. Fuentes disavows racial hatred. He tries to disassociate with it. He also has a lot of minority supporters, as we've seen at recent events. A lot of minority supporters have come out in favor of him. So I don't think it's really fair to characterize him as a racial bigot. And he is also a devout Christian. And the reason I mention this specifically, obviously, a picture in itself doesn't mean anything. You don't have to disagree, or you don't have to agree with anything that someone who takes a picture with you says, such as with Lady Maga. It's perfectly fine to take a picture with him. But my problem is that you have a very different reaction when it comes to either of them. When it comes to a young America First conservative like Mr. Fuentes, you slander them, trying to associate.
I never
with
slandered that person. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
But I'll explain to you what happened. I'll explain to you what happened and why I'm much more happy to take a photo with somebody like Lady Maga, who obviously were very different people, but agree on certain things, than I am with somebody like Nick Fuentes, which is that Lady Maga is a nice guy, and we had a nice conversation, and we were very open, and it was a good faith discussion. And Nick Fuentes lied to my face, then lied about me on the internet. And then only when I figured out who he was, because I Googled him, I realized, and some might try to refute this in the room, but it's all on video, that he has endorsed Jim Crow segregation. He has denied that the Holocaust happened. He has associated himself with fascism openly. He said if Antifa were fascist, he would be marching alongside them. He has associated in the past with avowed racial bigots like James Alsop and Richard Spencer, though apparently now they're having something of a tiff from what I gather on the blogs. It is quite clear to me that he harbors racial bigotry. That's why I reject his politics. The reason I reject his photo is because he lied to my face and about me. Nothing in that is in good faith. I would take 1,000,000 photos with Lady Maga before I would give a person who would do that the time of day.
Way to go, Mike. So some of you are asking, who's Lady Maga? I didn't know who Lady Maga was before I got into all this. Apparently, Lady Maga is a guy named Ryan Woods, and sometimes described as the loneliest drag queen in America. Because apparently Ryan Woods, Lady Maga, was raised as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Mormonism, and is a active drag queen there in Salt Lake City, known for Disney princess characterizations, and is a practicing homosexual, but also a vocal supporter of Donald Trump, and has things where the Lady Maga character will say things like, make America gay, I mean great again, sort of tongue-in-cheek. But one other thing about Lady Maga that's interesting is Lady Maga is 6'5". So that's who they're talking about there, all right? So this is like an entirely different world, and I just want to explain to people, the world that we knew of the Bush era with the neoconservatives at the helm behind Bush, The world we knew of George H.W. Bush, very mainstream establishment conservative. The world we knew of Ronald Reagan, actually moderate in a lot of positions, but who brought sort of a conservative revolution in the 80s. And the world before that, sort of a Richard Nixon republicanism, and before that an Eisenhower republicanism. All that is gone. We are in a post-Christian America and in a post-Christian right. And this is the situation now in 2024. And Christians, we have got to think more carefully than ever before. And a big part of that is watch out who you listen to.
I bring that up is because I feel like you are actually slandering him, because I don't think that he lied to you when he said that he's a fan of your show. I do believe that you both agree on a lot of the same things.
I mean, he's referred to our outlet as a bunch of Shabbos Goy race traders, so I don't think he's a huge fan of us.
Well, that wasn't to the outlet itself. I believe that was to Matt Walsh in particular, because I think that's because of how he characterized.
Okay. He only threatened to stab one of us and called the other one a race trader. But maybe he likes me. I don't know. Maybe. Could be.
Well, he's never threatened to stab anybody.
I think it was pretty clear from his streams, many of which I've now watched, that he is not a huge fan of my work or my beliefs. Good questions. I mean, that was good. We do have to get to other people, but...
Michael Knowles for the win there. I don't dislike Michael Knowles. He's a Roman Catholic, so we got some differences. But I do like that he's a proud Italian. But that was like the perfect response. That's a perfect response, dude. This is so funny right there. You know? So there, Michael Knowles. And notice these, these groypers. There you go. I like the lady holding the microphone. She's like smiling while he's saying, this is a weird world that I'm learning about. Okay, but it's pretty.
I bring that up is because
there's a lot
I feel
going
like,
on there. Okay, so now I want to try to show the final clip if I can get to it. I've got it up on Twitter, and I don't know if sound is going to play when I try to bring something up on Twitter. We're going to find out right now. Hopefully it does. Hopefully it does. All right. So this is, you're seeing my Twitter, and eventually I'm going to show you this, but I'm kind of dumb right now, and it's not working where I want it to do. But please vote in the poll and leave comments and all that jazz, and I appreciate every person here today. Tell me if you can hear this sound, okay? Can you hear this? The sound is not great, okay? But this is Nick Fuentes at the America First rally, okay, back in July of 2023, all right? And I want to show you what he says. Were you guys able to hear that? I'm going to turn it up as loud as I can, but if you can't hear it, you can definitely see it because of the text, okay? So let's listen to this, and this is the last clip we're going to play here.
If a Gentile hits a Jew, he must be killed. But when a Jew murders a Gentile, there will be no death penalty. Do you think it might be a problem that the people that are running your base, that are making the movies your children watch, do you think it's a problem that they believe that all Christians must die? Yeah! It's a big problem. It's a huge problem. We're in a holy war, and I will tell you this. Because we're willing to die in the holy war, we will make them die in the holy war.
He really said that. We're in a holy war, and because we're willing to die, we will make them die in the holy war. Couldn't this just be said by the most radical imam at a mosque, in Egypt? And also, can you guys hear the sound? I need to know.
And they will go down. We have God on our side, and they will go down with their satanic master. They have no future in America. The enemies of Christ have no future in this world. Thank you. God bless you. Good night.
Nick Fuentes is going to be the future president of the United States.
Sneeko, Muslim streamer there.
If a Gentile hits a Jew, he
Okay,
must be killed.
so I think that really explains everything we need to explain here today on Street Apologist Live. And I wanted to read that article from World, but I couldn't get to it, as well as a very interesting article that I've got up from the National Catholic Register called The Strange World of Catholic Integralism and Christian Nationalism. I'm going to put those in the description box of this video. I do encourage you to read those. I could not get to it today, but just know we've got some great shows coming up. I'm going to do a program where I'm going to respond to Demon Haka's recent review of a video by our own D New, as well as some other stuff coming up here. And I look forward to talking with you and getting to know more of you in the live chat as we do that. In the meantime, let me say, please become a Patreon. And I want to give a shout out to one of our Patreons today. We have a number of great Patreon members. I want to give a shout out to Sweet Tea, one of the Patreon members, Sweet Tea. So become a Patreon member and I'll say your name on a broadcast. For now, I wish you a beautiful day and hope to see you around this weekend. Might even be bumping up the smoke room that we've got going on pretty soon here. But guys, I have got to go. God bless. Have a great day.